4 key tips that you can look out for while you're talking to motivated sellers in order to spot the best deals. What's up, everybody? It's Jamel Gibbs, your family-oriented entrepreneur. Welcome to another video. So in this video, I want to share 4 key things that you really need to keep in mind when you're searching for motivated sellers. I see a lot of videos on YouTube that say, hey, go out and get motivated sellers, make offers, and then you'll get a deal. But what's the science behind finding motivated sellers? Well, these 4 key tips that I'm going to share with you is exactly what you need to look out for in order to be able to spot these types of deals. Now, before we jump into all of this, one thing I want to mention is, as an investor, we're problem solvers, right? So if you can't identify a problem to solve, then it's probably going to be difficult for you to be able to get a deal. Another thing to keep in mind is the bigger the problem, the more money you can make from the problem. So you should be looking for big problems. So the more problems a seller has, the more chances you have of getting an exceptional deal as a real estate investor. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about today is identifying urgency. Does the seller want to sell, or do they need to sell? It's super important that you understand the psychology behind what I just said. A seller that wants to sell can be a seller who, let's say it's an absentee owner. You got real estate gurus that tell you to go after absentee owners all the time. There's a specific type of absentee owner that you would go after in order to spot a deal though. For example, you might have one absentee owner that has a property that's being rented and they're cash flowing on the property, and then they decide that they want to sell. Now, when that seller decides that they want to sell, guess what's going to happen? They're going to ask top dollar for that property because there's no sense of urgency. They're making money on it versus a seller that needs to sell. What if you had an absentee owner that inherited a property that is currently getting code violations and the property is in need of major repair? The reason they need to sell is because it has all of these problems attached to the property. If you're talking with a seller over the phone and the seller is in a situation that they need to get out of, and you identify the problem and you can solve that problem, there's money in a bag for you. If there's no problem that you can solve, if you can't identify a timing issue, an urgency issue, it's going to be tough to get that deal. So tip number 1, identify urgency. Now, before we jump into the nitty gritty, I just want to give a shout out to this video sponsor, BaseLane. Now, BaseLane is an all-in-one real estate investing platform that allows you to combine banking, rent collection, and bookkeeping to create streamlined workflows that save you time and give you a clear view of your cash flow. I use BaseLane in my real estate investing business in order to automate rent collection, to deal with my contractors, and get an overall picture of the finances in my real estate investing business. There's a lot of different benefits to using BaseLane. I recommend you check the link in the description box to sign up for BaseLane for free. And when you sign up, you're gonna get a $100 bonus when you fund your initial account for $500. So check the link in the description box or head over to dealproacademy.com/BaseLane and get your account set up ASAP. Tip number 2, look for life situations that can cause motivation. For example, maybe they're getting a divorce. Again, maybe they lose their job and they're going into foreclosure, inherited a property and they can't afford the property because there's a mortgage on it. Maybe they're moving because of a job transfer. Whatever the case may be, look for a life situation that can cause motivation with the seller. Now, in my business, I like to go after tired landlords. And the reason I go after tired landlords is because they're dealing with headache tenants. The property probably needs some work and they just don't want to go through the rehab. Maybe they have the money. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. Now, I'm not saying that that's the best list to go after. I'm not even talking about that in this particular video. I'm just identifying psychology things that you can look out for when you're searching for motivation from a seller. I like tired landlords that have compounded issues because I can negotiate with them. I can talk straight with them and they understand the business. But you might like divorce leads. You might like to deal with people who are going bankrupt, for example. You might like to deal with people who are out-of-state owners. Whatever the case may be, identify a life issue that can cause motivation, and you'll be well on your way again to finding motivated sellers. Tip number 3 is to spot problems with the property's condition. This is huge as a real estate investor, especially as a wholesaler and a fix and flipper. We're looking for the property condition to be subpar. so to speak, in order to be able to get a better deal. So we're trying to identify where we can build equity in the property through fixing the property up, right? So as a wholesaler, you know that if the property needs work, you're going to be able to get that property at a lower price. As a fix and flip investor, we know that if we put money into the property, then we can improve the value of the property and gain equity from it. So if the property's condition is subpar, then 9 times out of 10, the seller is going to be a lot more motivated. So if you identify a problem with the property's condition, let's say it has deferred maintenance, meaning the seller couldn't afford to take care of the property over a period of time. Let's say that the property is vacant. The reason it's vacant is because the last tenants from a tired landlord destroyed the property and the seller just doesn't have the money to put into the property. So now the property is sitting vacant. And if there's a mortgage on it on top of that, then obviously you got yourself a good problem to solve. Or let's just say, for example, there's major repairs needed on the property. Whatever the case may be, identify problems with the property's condition and you'll ultimately be able to create a situation that you can help the seller out of while you get yourself a really, really good deal. Most of the deals that I've done over the last 20 plus years as a real estate investor since 2002, where I made the biggest bang for my buck, was when I was able to create a situation on a property that needed a lot of work and the seller just wanted to get out of it. All right. So look for problems with the property. This will trump everything else that we're talking about in this video. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want to compound all of these issues, which we'll talk about in just a second, but this will probably get you the best deals when you can identify issues with the condition of the property. That will really make you a lot of money as a real estate investor. And tip number 4, identify financial distress, financial issues with the property seller. Understand the numbers. Maybe they're behind on payments. Maybe they have multiple mortgages and they just can't afford the mortgages that they have. Maybe they're behind on their taxes. Maybe they owe money to the IRS or to the state. Maybe there's a tax lien or a judgment on the property. These are all financial issues that you can identify as a real estate investor in order to be able to help the seller solve a problem. Let me give you an example. I was talking with a student just the other day, one of my coaching clients, and he locked the property up under contract. This is a property in his local area. And he paid close to market value for the property, but it cash flows. So it wasn't a terrible deal, but ultimately he paid close to what the value of the property is. He contacted me a couple of days later and said, I think the deal is going to fall apart simply because there is a UCC lien on the property. And that UCC lien came from an HVAC company that slapped a lien on the house when the property owners couldn't make the payments. So I went to him and I said, look, and at the end of the day, you still have something that you can work with on this property. You've identified a financial issue. It's a problem that can be solved. You see where I'm going with this? We're solving problems as real estate investors. So generally what I said was, this house is going into foreclosure if you don't buy it. What do you think is going to happen with that UCC lien once the house is foreclosed upon? They're going to lose their money. So I said, you can go to the HVAC company and get them to drop the lien off, offer them less than what the lien is, maybe $500 to $1,000 or whatever you negotiate with them, or negotiate it down to almost nothing. The point is, if you negotiate with the second lien holder, they're really in a position where if the property forecloses, they're going to lose out anyway. If you're a first lien holder, then you'll get some of your money back. But if you're a second lien holder, it's going to hurt you. It's going to come back to bite you later on. So I said, you can negotiate that lien down to almost nothing because they're going to lose out 100% if the property goes into foreclosure. Now, obviously, local laws can differ from place to place. So be sure to check with your local attorney or accountant in order to get correct information on this. Check with your local realtors as well. But generally, that's what happens when it comes to second liens. That's why you have lenders that always want to be in first position over second position, because a second position is a weaker position than first. If you're in a second position and somebody is foreclosing on the house, the first lien position holder is going to get paid first. We've identified a financial issue with the property, which helped him to get the deal. And then we were able to create even more equity in the property because of it. So identifying financial issues that sellers are having on their properties will ultimately help you to get some of the best deals as real estate investors. Another thing I want to mention, And this is super important because if you don't understand this tip that I'm about to share with you right now, it can cause you to lose a lot of deals. And that's to look for compounded situations. So for example, if I just had a timing issue or I just had a property condition issue, but I had the money to fix the property, then there's really no problem. If I just had a financial issue or if I just had a property condition issue alone, I may not be as motivated as if I had a compounded issue. Compounded issue can be somebody that's having a timing issue, so sense of urgency. Property condition is terrible. Maybe they're backed up on their mortgage and their house is about to go into foreclosure. And maybe they're going through a divorce. When you have compounded issues on these properties, you can see how they can easily become great deals because you have more problems to solve. Remember what I said in the beginning. The bigger the problem you can solve, the more money you'll make as a real estate investor. If you don't have a lot of problems, then you're not doing enough. There's not enough meat on the bone. If there's no problems, then there's really no deal. But the bigger the issue, the more motivated the seller is going to be, the better the deal for you, because now you can help this person. You're not looking to take advantage of anybody. Again, I keep mentioning the word problem solver, but you can help this person and you can make a profit for yourself at the same time. So those are the 4 tips I wanted to share with you in this video. Again, be sure to look out for these 4 things when you're talking with motivated sellers, having these conversations. Ask open-ended questions. Don't ask closed-ended questions because then that's going to close the conversation off. Ask open-ended questions. An open-ended question is, tell me a little bit about the house, and then let them talk and start identifying the problem. Start digging deeper into the conversation in order to be able to identify what's really wrong, identify the problems, and you'll identify the cash that you're looking for in these properties. I hope you found these tips helpful. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, click the link in the description box. Check out BaseLane right now. It's a fantastic software. I use it every day in my real estate investing business. It really helps automate things financially for me. And I know for a fact it's going to help you in your real estate investing business as well. Plus, they're going to give you a $100 bonus when you fund your account with the first $500, and it doesn't cost you anything to sign up. So be sure to check out BaseLane in the description box below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.